The sweet aroma of roasted plantain floated across the evening air. Children laughed as they chewed, chasing each other with sticky fingers. But behind one quiet girl's shy smile was a story the village never truly saw. A story that began with laughter and ended with tears. The compound was alive with chatter as her mother stirred a steaming pot of soup. The girl sat close by, humming a tune only her mother knew, feeling safe in the warmth of her presence. The firewood crackled and the air smelled of home. Neighbors passing by greeted cheerfully, saying,
"Your house is always filled with joy."
And indeed it was, at least for that moment. But joy can be fragile. Later that night, the girl woke to her mother's sudden cries. Her body shook violently, her breath shallow. She fetched water with trembling hands, her heart pounding like the village drum. Neighbors rushed in, prayers filled the air, but nothing could stop the silence that finally came. By dawn, her mother lay still and the house of laughter became the house of mourning. At sunrise, the villagers gathered with solemn faces. A grave was dug under the tall mango tree, its roots thick like old secrets. The girl watched as her mother's body, wrapped in white cloth, was lowered into the earth. She pressed her palms into the soil, whispering words no one else could hear. Her world had shifted, and the sweetness of roasted plantain now tasted like ashes. The father stood stiff, his eyes clouded with loss, but grief made him restless. Within weeks, he grew impatient with loneliness. The girl clung to him, hoping he would fill the silence with love. Instead, his heart turned toward another woman, and the winds of change blew harshly through their compound. She arrived one market day, her wrapper neatly tied, her eyes sharp as a razor's edge. The villagers gossiped, whispering, so soon after his wife's burial, but the father ignored them, blinded by the comfort of a new companion. The girl watched as the woman took over her mother's kitchen, stirring soups that never smelled the same. At first, the woman called her "my daughter" with honey in her voice, but beneath the sweetness was a bitter taste. She rearranged the house, moved the girl's mat to the corner, and carried herself as if she had always belonged there. The girl swallowed her discomfort, clutching her mother's memory like a shield against the storm she felt was coming.
The stepmother's smile soon faded. Tasks multiplied, fetching heavy water pots, scrubbing the compound until her hands bled, cooking meals she wasn't allowed to eat. At night, while her stepmother and father ate meat, the girl was handed a bowl of watery soup. Still, she never complained, for her father's approval meant everything. The father, tired from farm work, rarely noticed, and when the girl's tired eyes sought his, he mistook her silence for strength. The stepmother's words slithered like snakes. She's lazy, she eats too much, she needs discipline. And so the man believed her. The girl's small words grew darker, though her heart held on to hope that her father would one day see the truth. Time rolled on, and the father's laughter grew faint. He often coughed at night, his strength drained by unseen sickness. The girl fetched herbs, boiled water, and sat by his side, praying silently. But the stepmother grew impatient, muttering, "What use is a man who cannot walk?" The words pierced her heart, but she dared not reply. The man, weak and weary, leaned more on his wife. She fed him lies, painting the girl as a burden. Even as his breath grew shallow, he nodded at her words. The girl kneeling at his bedside whispered, "Papa, don't leave me like Mama." But death is deaf to please. His eyes closed, and another grave was dug beneath the mango tree. When the dust settled on her father's grave, the girl felt as if the earth had swallowed her last anchor. Villagers shook their heads, saying, "This child has suffered too much." Some offered food, but no one dared interfere in another household's matters. The stepmother stood tall, her headscarf tied with pride, as though she had won a battle. The compound, once alive with her father's laughter, grew cold. The girl wandered its corners like a shadow, her heart hollow. She clung to memories of her parents, but memories could not fill an empty stomach or shield her from cruelty. And so began her true orphanhood, not only motherless and fatherless, but trapped in the hands of a woman who never loved her. The stepmother wasted no time. Chores grew heavier, punishment harsher. The girl was sent to the stream with a calabash so large it bruised her arms. If she spilled even a drop, she was whipped. At mealtime, she often ate last, scavenging leftovers. The villagers noticed her thinning frame and whispered, "That woman is wicked." But whispers do not raise children. The girl endured in silence, fearing that complaint would only make things worse. At night, she lay awake, staring at the ceiling, recalling her mother's gentle lullabies. In her dreams, her parents smiled at her, but she always awoke to the harsh bark of her stepmother's voice. Life had turned into a test of endurance, one she faced alone. One afternoon, the girl gathered courage to speak. She knelt before her stepmother and whispered, "Please let me rest, my body is tired." But the woman's eyes hardened. "Rest? Do you think food comes from the sky?" With a swift slap, she sent the girl sprawling. From that day, the girl learned silence was safer than speech. She tried to seek comfort from the villagers, but even they turned away. They said it is not our place to interfere. So the girl's cries remained trapped in her chest, her pain hidden behind forced smiles. Yet, deep inside, her spirit refused to break. Though her body bent under the weight of cruelty, her soul clung to a tiny flame of hope. As moons passed, the cruelty worsened. The stepmother denied her new clothes, so she wore torn wrappers. She was sent to farm alone, working till her hands blistered. At night, she sometimes cried herself to sleep, pressing her face into her mat to muffle the sound. The woman's children watched silently, afraid to challenge their mother. The girl, now growing into her teenage years, carried herself like a ghost, yet her eyes still held a quiet strength, as if daring life not to defeat her completely. In her heart, she whispered to her mother and father spirits, "If you see me, give me strength." The only answer was a rustle of mango leaves above the graves. The breaking point came one market day. The girl returned late, her load of firewood smaller than expected. The stepmother exploded, "Useless child, eating my food and giving me nothing in return." Before the girl could explain, her belongings, few clothes, a torn mat and an old calabash, were thrown outside the gate. The neighbors watched in silence as the woman shouted, "Leave my house and never come back." The girl stood barefoot on the dusty road, clutching her bundle. Tears burned her eyes, but she refused to beg. She turned and walked away, her heart pounding with fear of the unknown. Behind her, the compound echoed with her stepmother's laughter. Ahead of her lay uncertainty, hunger and loneliness, but also, perhaps, a chance for freedom.
The girl walked for hours, her bare feet blistering on the hot dust. The sun burned overhead, and her small bundle grew heavier with each step. Villagers she passed stared but said nothing. Some pitied her, others turned away, afraid to meddle in another family's affairs. Hunger gnawed at her belly until even wild fruit along the roadside seemed like a feast. By nightfall, she found herself near the outskirts of another village. The shadows of tall palm trees stretched across the road. She curled under one tree, hugging her bundle tightly. Crickets sang and tears slipped silently down her cheeks. She whispered to the stars, "Mama, Papa, where do I go now?" The stars twinkled, but no answer came. At dawn, a woman selling firewood saw her curled by the roadside. "Hey, small girl, why are you here alone?" she asked, her eyes soft but cautious. The girl hesitated, then whispered, "I have no home." The woman sighed, shaking her head. Though poor, she gave the child roasted yam wrapped in leaves. The taste, though simple, felt like a banquet. The woman allowed her to follow to the market, where she helped arrange bundles of firewood. For her effort, she was given scraps of food. It was not comfort, but it was survival. Yet deep inside, the girl knew kindness from strangers was fleeting. A shadow still followed her, whispering that this fragile refuge could not last forever. Days turned to weeks. The girl learned to carry wood on her head, to bargain with customers, and to stretch every morsel of food. Her hands grew calloused, her back bent under weight, but her will sharpened like iron against stone. For the first time since her parents' death, she began to feel a small ember of strength. But not all eyes in the market were kind. Some mocked her ragged clothes, Others whispered that a child without family was cursed. The cruel words stung, but she swallowed her pain and kept working. At night, when the market emptied, she lay on her mat in the corner of the woman's hut, staring at the moon, wondering if her suffering was a punishment or a preparation. One evening, she overheard two women gossiping by the market well. "Did you hear? Her stepmother has been boasting she chased the child away. She says the girl will never survive." Laughter followed like a knife to her chest. Her stepmother's cruelty had not ended at the compound. It followed her even here, shaping how others saw her. The girl clenched her fists, her heart burning with both pain and defiance. "I will not die the way she wishes," she swore under her breath. But even as she spoke, doubt crawled in. She was still only one child against the world. The mango tree graves of her parents haunted her dreams, reminding her that love could vanish in a heartbeat. One night, as she returned from the market, she noticed a group of rough-looking men by the roadside. Their eyes followed her like hawks, and a chill ran down her spine. She quickened her pace, clutching her bundle tightly. The road stretched dark and lonely, the only sound the pounding of her heart. She whispered a prayer, but the men's laughter echoed behind her. That night, she realized her battles were not only with hunger or sorrow, but with dangers that prowled the world beyond her stepmother's gate. And as the shadows lengthened, she understood her journey was far from over. She had survived cruelty and loss, but greater trials lay ahead. The story of her life was only just beginning.